Alright you guys, so today we are going to be building our create workshop. That means grinders, crushers, everything that we could possibly need to make all of our other stuff in this entire series. But for starters, I had to clear out a ridiculous amount of trees here, and then I had to fill with dirt. I didn't want to bore you, so here it is almost done. But let's get to it, I guess. Alright, so basically we have a mod on the system, or on the server, where we can use blueprints that we made somewhere else. So I made this entire create setup with all the basic machines, how I wanted them in create mode, and I wanted to test out this mod. It doesn't auto place it for you, but basically I can import a schematic, set it down, and then I just have to get the blocks and put them in there, right? My issue was it didn't go the best. You see, as you can see, I'm messing with it. I have broken belts over there. Now it's off to the left side and it's in my iron farm. I don't know how to bring it down, but eventually I did get it set up exactly how I wanted it, where basically I have one big loop when you walk inside the building. I have some deployers and some presses on the left. I have a saw and a drill on the back wall, and I have a grinder and like the grinding stone, the crushing stones, and a mill stone on the right, as well as I have a very basic, simple level 0 steam engine in the center that's going to power the entire building. Alright, so the first thing that I realized is if I'm going to have a workshop this big, I need massive power. That's a huge steam engine, but as I was walking out, I noticed this. Somebody broke my glass, man. Somebody broke it. I don't know who it was, but I gotta tell you, I'm gonna find you, and when I find you, oh, you have a big prank coming your way. I promise you that. Alright, you guys, so basically I figured if I need more power than that's going to give me, I need to make that giant steam engine. So I'm going to bury it underground. You guys can probably hear it ticking away down there, but I figured what's the best way to have a steam engine? I figured a hydroelectric dam. So I made this little dam right here. It is a little bit of Googling, you know, I'm not the best at making a dam, and I already got yelled at by Jacob for my roof. So I guess I have to redo that from cobblestone, but I'm pretty proud of this. I kind of handmade a lake over here. If you hop in and actually go down, the lake was originally somewhere way down here, and I built up the sides. I know it's mostly dirt, but I built up the sides and basically just filled it with water so that it looked like the dam was holding it back. Because if you come over to the other side of the dam, the water pours out here and then kind of continues down this river and underneath a nice little bridge that I made here. I thought it was a good touch, and it was a good way to hide the steam machine, which I actually ended up putting right down inside of here. I'm going to make some type of another hole later on, or some type of another entrance, but for now this works because I'm not completely set on that dam yet. Hey little otter, how you doing? Several times while recording this, I realized it was genius to put all the machines in first. I was able to hook them up to basic power, the basic steam engine that I have here in the middle, and I was able to make copper sheets, iron sheets, whatever I needed to be able to make my bigger power system. You see, every time that you make a fluid container or a steam engine or anything like that, it takes tons of things. And if I didn't have this set up, I would be going back and forth to Jacob's workshop 1.5 million times. Alright, now that I realized I want to make power, I thought to myself, why should this only power the workshop? Nah, that's not going to work. I want to make enough power that I can run shafts underground to 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 buildings as I continue on. After all, I still have a whole lab to make, and I know that I'm going to need power in there. So what I did is I made some fluid containers. I made one that's going to be a holding tank for all of my lava in my system, and I want this thing to hold hundreds of buckets of lava. And then I made one that is going to be the basic part of the steam engine. It's going to be the actual steam engine tank where all of the steam and the pressure is generated to give me my power. Once I had the tanks in place, I decided to stick cauldrons underneath them so I can actually collect the lava, and I put my pointed dripstone in, and then I connected all of the cauldrons underneath with a pipe running into the tank with a pump. At this point, I had to run back to my iron farm because I knew that it had, 90, 100 buckets of lava sitting in that tank. It was easy grabbins to be able to pull it out of there and just use that as my new lava generator in my new area. So I started laying it down. This lit up the room like crazy. Made me feel a whole lot better because I hate torch spam and I really didn't want to do it down here. But the lava works as an excellent light source, so you know, you have fire tick off on your world, use lava. Why not? Alright, the last step that I had to do was put down mechanical arms, and we had our final product. So as you guys can see, we have lava sitting behind some framed glass just because I like to be able to see it, and it lights up the room really well. That goes down on the pointed dripstone, which fill up the cauldrons. Those cauldrons are all piped together and run into a tank. This tank over here actually holds 224 buckets. That's 224,000 millibuckets of lava. That is a lot of lava. Like, that's enough to fill most of this room, I think. From that point, the lava buckets gets basically spouted into right here. So we have empty buckets that are in this chest. The chest deposits the empty buckets. It gets pushed forward and a spout spouts lava into them. Then we have all of these guys under here. These are all of my blaze burners. I actually had to go back into the nether and go and collect a few more because from mine and Jacob's run a few weeks ago, I actually only had like 4 left over and I needed 9 for a steam engine of this size. Basically, this mechanical arm can reach up to 5 spots, so it's able to grab a bucket when one of these blaze burner needs it. It can reach all the way back to this corner if need be, and then it will take the empty bucket afterwards and it will deposit it into here so it gets recycled back through the system. As you can see, I only have 22 buckets there, plus I have 2 out here and a third right there, so I have 25 buckets total circulating. I don't even need that money. I could use 1 bucket technically and it would just recycle around again and again, but I don't know, I always just throw in a stack or 2. This thing is crazy. Basically, if I go into free mode under here, I have a little 1x3 area that it's pulling water from. I have a pump set up that's drawing all the water in, and as you guys can see, remember that little level 0 steam engine I made? It only held 2,000 power. Well, this thing holds 147,000. It is the biggest steam engine that you can make without supercharging or superheating these blaze burners, and the only way to do that is to feed them blaze cakes. Which I'm not going to go through the effort of doing when lava is so easy. So now that I made the steam engine generating 147,000 SU, I can take all 9 of these steam engines, run them up through one shaft, and run that through a series of maintenance tunnels where I can connect the shaft to the buildings that I need to power. So I was pretty proud of myself on this one. Basically, I made the tunnels 3 tall so that I can still walk underneath it when I have the shafts overhead. So from the connector to the workshop, I basically made a tunnel that runs straight over to above the power supply, above the steam engine, and now I just need to connect it. So up next, I had to destroy the level 0 steam engine that I had powering my workshop currently, and well, this turned out to be kind of a bigger mess than I had ever thought about, because I still had the pumps running. So as soon as I broke the steam engine, they started dumping water everywhere, and they were creating source blocks, which just made it even more annoying because these source blocks were hovering in midair. So after cleaning up that initial mess and getting rid of the source blocks, me being the stupid Minecraft YouTuber that I am, decided to break the rest of the pipes. That just led to more source blocks being made and made an even bigger mess. I spent all night in Minecraft cleaning it up, but then once I got it cleaned up, I went back to connecting power and I decided to put a variable speed controller next to the workshop, put it in line, that way that I can adjust the speed of the workshop from 256 all the way down to 1, whatever speed I want, and later on, if I have too many buildings on this power and they're pushing power needs, I can actually turn down the workshop. I thought this was really smart because I doesn't need to be at whatever top speed that I have the steam engines working at. Not to mention, they might be too slow, so I might actually have to speed them up. So I was just getting ready to actually start building the physical building and surrounding my workshop to make it, you know, into a proper place to visit, when Banana Milkshake, the one, the only, the goofy man himself, decided he wanted some help with his steam engine, and I was more than happy to help out. I love Create Mod. I love to show others about Create Mod because the more that it's used on the server, the happier it makes me. But he had a unique situation, so he didn't need that much power. He only needed about 8,000 SU. So we had one of two things we could do. Either we could generate lava, we could use a mechanical arm to make a smaller level furnace, like a level, I think it's a level 1 or 2 furnace makes 16,000 power, and that should be more than he ever needs. Or we skip the lava side of it and we make like 4 or 5 different 2,000 steam engines. And those each work together to generate 8 or 10,000 power for him, but they only need water and they need campfires. They don't actually need any lava. They don't need to be that strong. Ultimately, he decided to go with the level 0, so we stuck a bunch of them next to each other. We powered it up. I kind of showed him how it works, and I stuck a variable speed controller in there so he can adjust the speed of his machine to kind of min-max where he wants it. So one of the things that I did see Banana do while I was over there helping him is he had one of these guys, so I had to make it myself. It's called a quadcopter, and this is a game changer. This eliminates the need for bamboo scaffolding in most places because I can fly up, I can hover in one spot, I can go into first person mode, like first person point of view, and I can actually build, I can destroy, I can place stuff, I can interact, I can fight, I can do all kinds of different things on this quadcopter. I liked it so much that during our Christmas event, I actually made an extra one and gave it out to everybody on the server as a Christmas gift. Now that I had my quadcopter, I had to figure out what I was going to put in the middle. I ultimately decided on a mechanical crafter because that's going to come in handy for several different things. And on the other side, facing, you know, the other way towards the crushing wheels, I think I'm going to put a mixer, maybe a smelter. I haven't really decided at this point, but currently I have a mixer in there. And turns out mixers are actually kind of tough to automate because they only hold so many items. So if you end up having stuff automatically go in, it clogs it up with one ingredient and you never actually get the second ingredient. I couldn't help myself. I got a little bored of building a wall. So I decided to teleport over to Banana's place knowing that he was live streaming and he is working on his building. And I figured maybe I should just, you know, throw some snowballs at him and then hide behind a hill and see if he notices.
Yeah. Am I tripping? Wasn't there just particles right there? Is it because I break this? No. What is happening?
Alright, you guys, so at this point, he was kind of catching on to me. And before I knew it, he was actually coming this way, so I had to hide. I was crouched down so he wouldn't see my name, and I got really lucky. He passed right by me. So I threw another snowball at him.
Oh my god, dude. Where were you?
Dude, I was hiding right over here.
I ran right past you?
Yeah, I was crouched down so you wouldn't see my name.
Oh my god.
So now that I was done helping out Banana, I decided it's time to make the basic frame. I decided to make like a wooden log frame so that it matches my other buildings, and then start filling it in with concrete and go from there. Obviously, I'm going to make a lot of changes so it doesn't look exactly the same, but it needs to have the same theme. So now that I got back into my project and was actually making pretty decent progress, it was starting to resemble what one might call, a building. I got distracted again because Jacob called me up. He called me and Smithy and said, "Hey, I've got some exciting news. I'm about to hatch all of my beginning herbivores for my preserve, for my area." And I didn't want to miss that. I'm talking about he is about to hatch like 40 different herbivores and just let them go crazy in his new fenced-in area that he worked so long to make. So I'm going to sit back, shut up, and I'm going to let you guys check it out, because this is really cool to see, and it makes me excited about the future of my park. Alright, once the, let's call it, miracle of life took place over at Jacob's place, I had to come back and I had to get back to it because I knew that this project, like every other project I feel like, was just absolutely massive. So I continued by finishing up all the walls and leaving little cutouts up above where I could put windows in. I figured next up I need to add a little bit of texture, a little bit of this whole 3D feel to it. So I added fence boards, jungle fence boards, and basically I added these along several of the vertical corners. I added them in a few horizontal spots, and it kind of just adds that depth to the building, because if you're going to have a building that's shaped like a cube, you need to make sure that it has different depth. Otherwise it looks very, very basic. After that, I had to figure out what type of windows to put into where my windows go. I figured since it's in the jungle, I don't know if it's that the windows are grimy or that it's the light reflecting off of the green jungle leaves, but green stained glass seemed like the way to go. So I made a whole bunch of green stained glass, I threw it in, decorated it several different ways with the chip mod, because now turns out there's like 16 different types. I ended up going with a chip mod green stained glass pane that had some nice kind of shapes to it and looked like an old school Gothic church with like the black frames that kind of go through the glass. I think it looks really good, and I'll show you guys here in just a second. But as soon as I finished up that, I realized I need to make something on the side of the workshop. You see, later on when I have my full tour that starts out in the river, you're going to be able to look across the river and you're going to see this workshop. So I figured it was the perfect place for a few signs, and I can do that using the immersive paintings mod, where basically I take graffiti, which you make, and you can upload a picture and turn it into a painting and put it into the world. So I had these two beauties. I have one that simply says enjoy the ride, and then I have another that I thought was kind of fun, but in big bold text it says please keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times. Then in super fine text, really small text at the bottom where they won't be able to read it from the ride, it says park management is not held responsible for any damage to body or loss of life. By entering the park, you forfeit any rights to sue for damages. Signed, management. So, you know, now they can't sue me. I finished up my immersive paintings by putting one painting of a create mod cog to the left of the front door and a create mod wrench to the right of the front door. I thought this like pixel art type thing, honestly it just looked cool and it reminded me a lot of Satisfactory. Alright, so now it was time for me to build the center, kind of enclose this last little area. I love those stained glass windows, they're beautiful. But basically in the center section I'm going to have my mixer on one side and I'm going to have my mechanical crafter on the other side, and that just kind of solidifies or fulfills everything that I want to have in my workshop, in my create workshop. Alright, we are so close, yet still kind of so far. This took me another hour and a half or so, but I need to make the roof. Roofs are tough, especially if it's a flat roof. It's so easy to not look good. So what I decided to do is I kind of made it a chill area where I made a roof that you can climb up to via a ladder inside of the workshop. And then I threw down a few couches. I put a covering over it. And I thought this was really cool. It took a lot of resources, but I actually made the entire roof out of campfires that I put out. I just poured water on them because it gives that like cross beam type of a look that is just so unique to that part of Minecraft. So I figured I'll hang a few lights, you know, make sure stuff can't spawn here, plus it gives it that kind of homey look. Using the chip mod I can turn a lantern into like an open flame type lantern, which is cool. So what do you guys think? I think it looks pretty good. I think it's time for us to take a tour. Alright you guys, here it is. I have my lovely creek from the dam running right through here underneath this bridge. I have my signs on the front, my stained glass with a couple different shapes. You can see that's different, like the arch versus the cross cut. Open this guy up, and I actually have an on-off switch, so if I turn that on, everything starts turning. Flip that off, and it all stops. It shuts it down to kind of save power, plus to minimize lag if I have somebody that doesn't have as good of a PC or anything like that. When you first walk in, there's two crafting tables here, followed by my deployer and my mechanical presses. Basically the way it works is I can put something in this chest and it will flow down to this deployer. Don't really know why I put chests above the mechanical press, because you don't need them there, but whatever. And this deployer actually won't even work unless I flip it on. Oh, and the building has to be on. There you go. See how that's the only one working? So it has on-off switches so I can control what I want to do. After I've set everything up how I want it, I put my input in and it gets pushed all the way down here to my output. Next up is going to be my saw. So input for saw, it gets cut up right here and then goes to output. Same thing with drill. Input is going to be over here. It gets pushed in front of the drill and then it gets pushed to the output. These two actually share a line. It's kind of cool. Basically my crushing wheel comes here and it goes up at an angle. You can see it popping out up there and gets dropped into the crushing wheels and onto this line and then through here. My milling stone or millstone, I put stuff in here and it gets pushed right through the millstone onto the same line and then ends up in this output. You can see I have some powdered obsidian already in here. Oh look, a dragonfly got caught. That's funny. I did end up switching the mixer. So basically I switched it instead to a fan. I have a fan right up here that's blowing down. I can open this up. I've got lava, I've got water, I can set fire, I can do whatever I want right up there, and anything that I put into the input here will get stopped at this brass funnel or this brass basically filter, and it will get cooked or it will get washed or whatever I want to do before it ends up over here. Weird that I have 4 stone in there. That must be from when I was building everything. And then the last thing, let me go ahead and turn this off, is going to be my mechanical crafter. My manual crafter is awesome. I haven't used it much, but it is really cool to see, and I like that I sunk it in by 1 block. Then if you come on up here, it is going to be our spot that we can hang out. I've got, you know, a couple couches. You can sit down. You can kind of hang out. Look at yourself. Look. Oh, that's a spoiler back there. Don't worry about that. and then you can actually just, you know, enjoy the views. This is actually one of my favorite spots on the server to sit at. I can AFK safely here, and it will run my iron farm as well as will run anything in the workshop that I have going on. But it's going to be a great view once I have the tour started from that point. Well, yeah, anyway, till next time. Hope you guys loved it. But this is Zobua. I love y'all, and I'm out.